Hello YouTubers, it's me again with another video for you today, and I hope you enjoy this one as much as I do making it. Big shout out to all my new subscribers, and for those of you that have joined the channel and like what you see and have left some thumbs up and comments and stuff like that, thanks very much. And if I haven't got around to subbing you or commenting on your stuff, please do forgive me. I am a very extremely busy dad at home, so I've got a little tearaway literally. So I often don't get a chance to get round to looking at your stuff, but I have seen what you guys have been up to if you put videos on your channel. Obviously, if you haven't got any videos up on your channel and you've just subbed me because you like my channel but have got none yourself, then obviously I can't look at your stuff. So get out there and start making some videos so I can start looking at your stuff. Anyway, I want to share with you today a really nice little surprise. Well, not surprise, but it was a surprise when it came in the mail yesterday, so I didn't think it'd come so early. It was something that I won on eBay last week, and I was very surprised at how quick it got here in the post. So thumbs up to Hampshire Models, where it came from. And I'll give you a little clue what I won on eBay last week, which I'm now going to show you. I'll give you a clue. It's not a big clue, but if you look at the colour of my t-shirt today, it's red. Now that could mean lots of things. That's got you thinking, isn't it? Think model railways and think red, the colour red. Well, there's loads of things out there on a model railway that could be red. Signal, well, obviously. Buffer stop lights, well, possibly. What else could be red? Unfortunately, it's not motorised tube trains. Unfortunately, I wish it was. However, it's one of these. Okay, it's coming, I'll show you. Here's the box. Well, it's not quite giveaway yet, but obviously it's Hornby Railways, and the condition of the box is as you can see there. The ends are a little bit tatty, but we're not too worried about that. It's what's inside that I was more happy with. Guess what? It is one of, look at that, dun 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 dun. It's a breakdown crane. Oh, look at that. So happy with that. And it's in mint condition. It's absolutely spanking brand new. It's never been hardly used. So what I'm going to do now is just pause this video for a second and get this out of the box and do a little bit more history on it. Okay, so stay tuned. So this is how it comes in the box, and as you can see probably at home, this is absolutely in mint condition. I'm going to get these out of their little inserts in a minute and have a much more closer look. But one of the things that I noticed about these cranes on eBay, they're about, there's quite a few of them if you look, but unfortunately they always come either with slight damage or the support jacks that go either side of the crane. They're always missing, or there's only one or two available with the set. The rest are missing, have gone into oblivion. So to get a complete operating crane set complete for approximately £23 was an absolute steal, and I couldn't pass it up. There was a fella on the eBay last week that was after selling one of these. It was the earlier version, I think the 1970s version, for about £50. With the box, with the black insert on the top of the display tray, and he wanted £50, and then on top of that extra for postage, so it worked out about 56 quid for one of these. And the thing was, there was a bit of damage to one of the match trucks, the buffer wires, and also these support jacks were non-existent. They weren't even with the set, they were missing. So I thought that was a little bit cheeky. You know, 25 quid would have been sort of ample maybe, but I mean that's a bit extortionate. But for this, say 23 quid, and it come to, I think it was £23–24, but either way it cost me about £27.50 in total with postage from the Hampshire Model Centre, which came yesterday, as you see here. I think that's pretty decent. You can't grumble at that. I'm not worried about the box so much, it's what's inside. So let's have a look at what's inside. So I'll start first of all with the rear tray, which contains the main supporting jib wagon and the two match trucks and obviously the jacks. So if we get them out one by one, you can have a little bit of a look. It's just like Christmas to me when you unbox these things, because they're so nice, and everything is just in such good condition. I'll take the jacks out so we can have a look at those. Might as well doing a video about it. Right, let's just bring these up to the camera. Well, first of all, this is the main supporting jib truck, which carries the arm of the crane on, and as you can see, look at this, guys. Seriously, look at the condition of that. It's mint. It's absolutely immaculate. Not a scratch on it. And whoever's had this has obviously run it on their layout maybe once or twice and then kept it in the box or on display somewhere. Not even on the display, because it's been in the box, so it would never have got dusty, as you can see. It's been really well looked after. Buffers are all intact, as you can see. The couplings are immaculate. They're the old style later Hornby triangle, later Hornby ones, but the ones that are fixed in place by a little rivet there. If you look underneath there, look at these wheels. They're absolutely mint. Not a scratch on them. A little bit of discoloration on the flanges, where they've obviously been run for a little bit, as you can see, but not a lot. And they're plastic wheels, so you can clean those up easy. It's always the wrong thing. Always the time when you want to do these things. Sod's law, isn't it? My phone goes off. I'll have to pause this a minute. Okay, welcome back after that rude interruption from the telephone earlier. Sorry about that, guys. Anyway, as mentioned, we was looking at the underneath of this jib truck here, and as I discussed previously, these wheels are very clean. There's only a little bit of wear on the flange there, not an awful lot, if that. So they've hardly been run, if not at all. Overall condition underneath there is spotless. That's been well looked after, that has. The only thing I had to do on both ends of this, here and here, opposite the coupling bar, these two brackets, I'm not sure you can make out there was a little tiny bit of flash, which is basically the excess off the moulding and the factory that's left on there. I had to get a file and just very carefully take that off. I didn't want to do too much on there, but I went as far as I could with it without damaging it, and I had to do that on both sides because there's quite a lot of it hanging down, and obviously on that end as well. You can see I've done there a little bit. There's a tiny bit left on there, but I mean nothing to worry about on there. So as you can see, that's in great condition. Moving onwards, we've got these little match trucks. These are the support bogies, which have got just a plain drawbar connection on one end, or a little D-shaped loop that the crane will sit on. I'll show you in a minute how that works, but you've got a plain style coupling on that end with nothing, just a D-bar, and then the standard Hornby coupling on the other end. Buffers are intact, the top is nice and clean and in mint condition. The sides are good. Normally these come a little bit scratched. Sometimes these ladders here, the black paint gets scratched off the ladders there, but as you can see, it's intact there. That's all intact. Underneath it's exactly the same condition. The wheels are lovely and clean. No muck or no fluff or dirt on there or wear. It's mint condition, look at that, eh? Smooth as a die. And the other one is exactly the same, as you can see. Immaculate condition. No damage, no scratches. Everything on there. And of course we've got our 1, 2, 3, 4 jacks. So let's move this to one side, just over there, like that, out of the way, and I'll bring in the crane. So the crane itself, let's bring out the box, and there she is. So I'm just very carefully going to lift this out. Before I lift this out, I'll just pre-warn you. When I get this out, you'll notice a difference about the chimney on top of the crane, because it's a steam crane, and you'll notice a difference. And I'll show you a picture of what it should look like and what I've done and the reasons why I've done it. So first of all, I'll take this crane out carefully. Okay. Okay, put that to one side, and there is our wondrous crane. Look at that, it's absolutely lovely. I'll bring it up to the camera so you can have a little look. It's in mint condition, as you can see. Everything on it, all the chains, all the operating gear on it, it's all in mint condition. Look at that, not a scratch on it. The jib's all intact, you can see. The only thing that's different with my version here, in the catalogue, which I'll show you in a minute, there's a picture of this. It's R739, and the actual hook on the end is painted silver, and mine's actually black. I'm tempted to paint it silver, or just paint partly of it silver and leave the hook black, because in real life you'd never have had a shiny silver hook, because it would have been well used and greasy and dirty from lifting things, so it never would have been that colour really. Don't know why, but as you can see, everything on there is in good condition. And what I've done, as you see from the chimney, I've shortened mine. It normally comes up to about there where my finger is. It's quite tall, but I had to actually trim mine down a little bit because it was creating some clearance problems on the layout. And so obviously my layout, as you may or may not know, you'll see in a minute when I did a running video of this, it's got quite a few line side structures that in terms of height would affect the crane from running properly, i.e. tunnels and footbridges. So if you've got a layout that's got footbridges and a few tunnels, if they're straight tunnels, no problem, but if they're curved tunnels or low clearance tunnels, then you might want to think about trimming the chimney on these. I'm sure people out there have done that. There's nothing wrong in it. If you look at it from the back, you can see there's the old boiler, so you can see it's a steam crane, and where I've trimmed the chimney off, it still counts as a chimney for the boiler. In fact, it looks like a steam loco chimney, which is perfectly okay. You've got a chimney there that denotes it's a steam crane, so that to me is perfectly okay. So operationally, before we go on to how the thing works, or how it looks assembled and how it should work, let's just show you a picture of what this would look like, or did look like, in 1979, because that's how old it is. I'll just bring in my copy of the Hornby catalogue from 1979, and this was really the year I first got into model railways as a child. When I was very small, this was the year that Hornby entered my life, 1979. So if we look on page 44, I think it is, if we flip through, oh look at that, oh stop it, I'm drooling already, look at this, all these gorgeous logos, look at this. I've got that one, mammoth. And let's have a look. 44 I said, didn't I? Right, let's have a look. Right, let's flick it. There we go, there's the old crane there, look, see. If I bring this into shot, bring it down. Don't get seasick, we're going down, folks. Right, if I just bring the camera in as best I can. So you can see here, this is what it looks like, and these are your jibs, or your supporting jacks, should I say, not jibs. Correction. Come on, get with the program. Jacks. These are obviously your jacks, supporting jacks. You get 4 that go on inside the crane, and the idea is if you're lifting stuff on the railway, it does work as an operational accessory. But you'll notice from the picture there something very mysterious about the hook on the end of the crane in the picture. You've got 2 chaps on top there attaching it to the wagon that's fallen over there. But look, oh come on camera, behave yourself. Right, there we go. It's silver. It's silver in the picture. Did they paint it purely for advertising purposes? No, they didn't, because if you look at the actual crane there, this is R739, which is the crane we're talking about in front of us. If you look there in the photograph in the catalogue, as you can see, the hook on the end is silver, and if you look at my one, bring it in for comparison, is black. but everything else on there is correct, so I don't know why, whether it was a replacement hook, or it's quite possible that it was a replacement hook, it got damaged or something. That's what I reckon happened, and Hornby sent them the black one instead. But I'm very tempted to paint part of mine, but again I want to leave it, because in reality, you and I both know that a railway operational crane like this in reality would never have been silver in terms of the hook. It would have been dirty and greasy and grimy and black as you like, purely from working and doing its job. So I think that's a bit of an unrealistic colour in my terms and opinions, but that's just me. So anyway, that's R739, which is the catalogue number there, which is the breakdown crane, and which I'm happy to own now. So coming out of shot a second, I'll just show you how this actually works. It's a really nice little bit of kit. I mean, for 1979, it's quite well put together, and what I like about it is it's a hands-on little bit of play. And obviously we know that with trains, we do like to play trains. Doesn't matter how big or small your layout is. I've said it before and I'll say it again. You've got to have something on your railway that is hands-on and that you can play with, and that provides hours of fun. Things like the TPO, for example. Doesn't matter how big your layout is. You've got to have something, because if you just run trains up and down all day and there's nothing really for the trains to do apart from you just stop and start them and stuff like that, you've got to have things that work mechanically, things that add a little bit of depth into your railway, and I think stuff like this is a great idea. So anyway, I'll show you how this works. It looks very complicated, but it isn't really. The way it's designed is quite nice. You've got these two wheels here, and then wrapped around each wheel obviously are chains. You've got a support bar which goes over there and around the other side. And then if we look, the camera picks this up hopefully, yeah, you've got a spring, like a W or an M-shaped spring that goes from that wheel to that wheel. In the middle there's a nut there that it rests on, a little bit of wire, and it acts as a support spring. And what happens is it keeps those two wheels in place and under pressure, and you've got two wheels that you can rotate with your hand. Well, the one nearest to the steam cab, if we rotate that one there very carefully, lift it up, that brings your jib up, as you can see there, like that, and then you can lower it also with the same action. The one furthest to the jib, the second wheel along, if I do this, it lowers your hook, and then when you wind it back the opposite way with your finger carefully, it brings it back up very easily. Now what I've done on my model, I've done a couple of things on this to give it a little bit of a custom, not so much finish, but custom, what's the word? Come on, think, it's Friday. Operationally wise, I've did a few little custom things on it to help it in terms of operation. That's what I'm trying to get at. Got there in the end. What I would suggest is, if you've got one of these at home, or thinking about getting one of these, or you've got one, what I did with mine was simply the same oil that you use for lubricating your locos. I put a little drop literally behind that wheel and that wheel, and then the same on the other side there, so 4 drops, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then just basically do the insides exactly the same. Just put a drop on the inside of that wheel, one there, one there, one there, one there. So basically the idea is any plastic parts that are moving and rubbing together, i.e. these wheels, you want to add a little drop of oil, because it will help them turn much more freely and smoothly, and it helped the mechanism work better. I also added on mine a little tiny drop of oil just on the support bar there, with the chains constantly rubbing across there, and then on the top of the jib I put a little tiny bit of oil there, with the chains constantly going over that bar there all the time. Just a little bit of oil to help it and reduce any friction or wear. So that's just me. Other than that, it's easy enough as a mechanism to operate, and I found that by putting some oil on that, as described, it actually works a lot more smoother and better. Now the actual support jib sits on a truck, and it comes off quite easily. It won't hurt it. Gently pull it and it comes apart, and you'll see underneath there's a socket that fits in, and there's your little pin. It's the same as if you look at the Hornby carriages, mainly the bogies on those, they pull apart with the same system, the same locking device on there, the same 360 little bracket that sits on there, so you can rotate the bogie or the wheels. In this case, you're not rotating the bogie, you're rotating the crane. So a little bit of oil on there, don't go mad with it, it's a tiny little drop of oil. Even though it's plastic, it will obviously keep it nice and lubed up, and obviously if it's designed to turn left and right or 360 degrees, you want that to be as smooth as possible. The other thing I'd done on my crane was two things in the cab area. I added a little bit of PVA on these stickers here, because unfortunately one of the corners was starting to lift a little bit. That wasn't a great idea in my opinion, so I put a little bit of PVA underneath, resealed it, and then on both sides I gave it a very light coat of Humbrol Clear varnish, which protects transfers and stickers, and basically I gave that a coat of Humbrol Clear varnish that side and on that side as well, to protect it and keep it all in good order. The other thing I did on the cab, underneath, initially there's one single weight that's put in these from the factory from Hornby, a single little tiny weight that to me isn't very good, because when it was sitting there like that, and when I took it out of the box and put it on the table, it was doing that. But obviously because the jib, the crane end of the jib, the crane, whatever, the top end of the crane does all the business, was obviously heavy, and it counterbalances or offsets the crane itself. So the best thing I found was I needed to put some more weight in here. So all I did was just turned it over, and with a little bit of super glue I cut in half an old tender weight and super glued that in place in there, and it was nice and weighty, so it gave it a nice counterbalance on the end of that crane, like the real thing. Real life cranes, be them small or large, you do need a large counterbalance weight on the end. You'll often see the tower cranes with large concrete slabs on the back of it as counterweights. Same principle, only in miniature. That's what I've done, just obviously make sure that it now sits nicely. As you can see, it sits nice and flat, doesn't tip forward, and I'm quite happy with that. Yep. Right, let's put it all together and show you what it looks like assembled on the table, and then I'll get it out on the layout and we can have a nice run round with it. Sounds good? Okay, grab yourself a cup of tea or whatever you choose, and I'll see you in a bit. Right, here it is, all assembled on the table. So obviously you have the main supporting jib truck in front, which is this one, the match truck, the crane, and then in the back of the crane you have another little match truck, which obviously you can put your rolling stock or loco up to. So as you can see, it's quite impressive, and that's when it's travelling, it's designed very cleverly so that this jib is supported by this jib truck with these two brackets on either side of it. If I just bring the camera up, I'll show you why and where and who, how and what. Oh, going for a wander with the camera. Right, if you look at this, the travelling jib truck, it's got two brackets, two cut out brackets, one there and one on the other side, and what it does, it's a clever little design, because when this is actually rolling around the layout and through curves and transition curves, you'll notice that it moves from side to side, but the whole crane stays flat and it doesn't sort of swing outwards, or the jib doesn't swing outwards violently towards other traffic or structures or platforms. Keeps it central. So it's quite a little clever design. Whoever thought this out and designed it came up with a very good idea of how it travels in reality and applying it to a model railway vehicle. So they've looked at the real thing and obviously built it in miniature and designed it in miniature, which I love about Hornby, how they came up with those ideas in the beginning. So what happens is, you'll see in the layout in a minute, it makes more sense than me waffling on about it. It stays central to the support truck there, while the rest of the train is able to move freely, because it's obviously loosely coupled with the couplings. It's not fixed as essential. One-piece vehicle. It comes in sections basically, and there's lots of free movement between the couplings, the standard ones, and also the drawbar and pin system with the crane there and the match truck there on both ends. So overall, it's a nice addition to my fleet. So, but only, like I said, two things that I've discovered with this after doing a little bit of running when I first got it. Number one, the wheels were quite stiff, but as mentioned, I basically oiled those up and freed those, so they're nice and running smooth now. And this chimney up here, I had to cut down to size because it was creating such a problem. Also, because it sits quite high compared to a standard gauge vehicle, the cab end of the crane, which this bit here, if you look at it sort of from that end, this curved profile of the cab was actually hitting the side of my tunnels and bridges, particularly my road bridge and my main through tunnel I've got on my layout, which I'll show you in a minute. That was creating a scraping problem, and it was becoming quite annoying, and also it needed to be addressed. One of the reasons why was the tunnel upstairs I've got, which I'll show you in a minute. Inside the tunnel lining, when I built the layout over 6 years ago, the inside the tunnel portal I constructed out of very fine grade black sandpaper, to give the impression of looking through a tunnel and seeing the inside of the walls being dirty and very black. Unfortunately, this scraping on the sandpaper would have removed the paint, done a lot of damage to the side of the crane over a period of time, and would have created a lot of problems. So what I had to do was literally remove a little bit of the tunnel lining inside and the roof section. You can't see it, and I'll talk about it more in a minute when we go up towards the layout upstairs, so you can see what I'm on about. But basically just a few little scenic modifications had to be done, a little bit of trimming here and there to accommodate the height, but you know, I can suck it up and live with that, because it's a beautiful piece of machinery in miniature, and I love it. The other reason I'm going to show you this video is because I've got something else that will go with this, and it's red also, and I got this last year, if you remember, at the Old Oak Common depot day, and at the time I got this, someone said to me, you need to get the crane to go with it, and I didn't have the money at the time, and obviously now I've got both together. That is going to be going with my crane. And when this is coupled up to this, it does look the part. So what I'm going to do now is get it all together for you upstairs in the layout, complete as assembled with the train, and we'll take it for a spin around the layout, and you can see what it's like, and also you can see for yourself how much clearance it's going to need in terms of overhead structures and things like that. So if you've got tunnels and bridges on your layout, you may want to have a look at this video in a minute as well, and stay with it and just see how it affects your layout, because it can be a problem with the height. But all I would say is, if you've got straight tunnels on the layout, but i.e. your tunnels are dead straight so you can see right through it from end to end, then it's not going to be a problem. If you've got anywhere that's curved and you've got tunnels or bridges, then you might want to look at this, because it does swing out quite wide when going around curves. Anyway, I'll show you the layout running itself so it makes more sense. Anyway, stay with me and we'll go upstairs and run some trains. Well, the breakdown crane on the side of it clearly says Stratford Depot, so of course you've got to have the Stratford logo. Pulling it. It sits quite high, as you'll see from the shots I'm doing here. It's quite a high vehicle. And it does swing out a little bit on the curves. There she goes, fresh out of Temple Mills. As you can see, it just about clears that under road bridge there. I'd like to do a little bit of clearing out underneath there. It's mainly this area here. You can't see it by eye unless I zoom in. Just under to the left there under the roof. That's to cut a little bit of a curved section in, just to clear the top of the crane there, which there's none too worries. It's not a big problem anyway. You come down the other end. The major engineering problem was the tunnel. As you can see from the shot here, my tunnel is situated on a curve. It's not a dead straight see through the other side tunnel, it's on a curve. So a lot of high-sided vehicles could easily catch just inside here as it was coming off the curve. So that's where it was scraping, and like I said, sandpaper and plastic over a period of time, you put the two together, does a little bit of damage. So I didn't want that with the crane, so I just removed a little bit of the inside of the roof, but as you can see, it doesn't make no difference to the running at all. It is very tight. If I just bring the camera down here a second and wait for the next pass of the train to come through, if I focus in on the top of the tunnel roof, this area here, if you look between the top of the crane and its support coach that goes with it, the triangle coach, you'll see how tight it is. It's actually very tight. It just about squeezes through there. Very tight. A few millimetre clearance. Anyway, as you can hear, the old 37's winding up. Quite a long vehicle. Like I said, when you put it all together, even on its own, it sits quite long and high, not on the track. It reminds me actually of a dinosaur, a little bit on the back of those match wagons. A bit like that Disney film, One of Our Dinosaurs Is Missing, where they had the skeleton of one of the dinosaurs at the Natural History Museum in South Kensington, and it had a mystery microfilm or something on it, if I remember rightly. And it was on the back of this steam lorry with a tarpaulin over it going down the road in the fog. It's a little bit like this. Maybe, maybe not. But as you can see, it's cleverly designed, so when it does negotiate curves and so forth on your railway, it's designed to move with the curve, but you just got to be careful of line side structures, because this crane does swing out a little bit, and obviously the height it is as well. Just make sure you've got enough clearances. Like I said, when I built this railway 6 years ago, I never had one of these cranes, so I didn't incorporate the feature for it to go around. So it wasn't that hard really, just to do a little bit of cutting away here and there in the unseen areas, as it were. So I'm happy with it. So that's R739, which is the breakdown crane, and R740, which is the triangle breakdown coach. Together, in formation, pulled by a 37 from Stratford. And on a nice sunny day, or a Friday, you can't get nicer than that. See you soon. Thanks for watching.